everybody, and welcome to a Mini-Munch. Joining me, Ralph Thompson, we have Joe.
Hello, I'm here for the Mini-Munch.
And joining us, we have Aaron. Aaron?
I don't think he's here.
Aaron, you don't think he's... Wait. Oh my god, he's not in the studio. Why is he not in our studio with us, right next to us? In the studio we have.
Yeah, he put a fake dummy there. I thought he's been here all day, but...
Oh my god, you're right. Hang on.
Yeah, give it a prod.
Oh yeah. It's made of wood, like my desk. That's weird.
Yeah, that's really weird. That sounds a lot like your desk, Ralph, but...
That does sound a lot like my desk.
It's actually Aaron's dummy that he placed in the studio
that's weird.
To pretend he's here.
What should we do? Hello, guys. It's me, Aaron.
It's me.
I mean, shit.
What?
There we go. That's my Aaron impression.
It's me. That was a good one, actually. He does say it's me.
He does say it's me
He
quite
does
a lot.
say that, yeah. Oh, what was the other thing he does? Oh, you said shit instead of Christ. That was your big mistake.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. I'm stroking my chin. You can't see it, but I'm stroking my chin.
You're doing the chin stroke. I like it.
Oh, Christ.
I think...
What are we talking about? What are we talking about this week, you guys? It's bloody RPGs.
RPGs. And all things.
Not the dangerous weapons.
Not the bazookas.
Not the bazookas.
Yeah.
The fun. We're talking about a different kind of explosive subject.
Role-playing games.
Role-playing games.
Yeah, you heard it. Role-playing games. There you go.
Role-playing games.
Yeah, that's why we're doing a Mini-Munch. Aaron isn't here, if you didn't get the memo. He's not in the studio, like Ralph said. And we're going to be doing a good old Mini-Munch. Back to where it started.
Mini-Munch, oi.
Yeah, that was the theme, wasn't it? Mini-Munch, Mini-Munch, Mini-Munch.
Mini-Munch, oi. Yeah, I still haven't written a proper theme, and I don't plan to.
Yeah, that's okay. We've got fancy new animation that'll be new to all the viewers, and some new like sort of background art and stuff. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
before we jump into this,
yeah,
I thought just so we and the listeners understand what our love for RPGs are, I thought we would quickly just like run down a couple that we really like.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
I would say like number one for me has always been Fallout 2.
Fallout 2, a classic, a cult
Classical.
classic, to be exact.
What's yours?
My favorite RPG.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a hard one because it's got to be Skyrim purely for the fact the amount I've gotten out of it, if that makes sense. Like the amount of time and sort of like interest I've gotten out of it. Because like Skyrim for me, like even after I've been done with the game, even like the universe itself and like just like videos on YouTube about the game, like I'm still so interested in it, even though I don't actually play it anymore. So it kind of continued on with me. And I guess that's what makes it my real favorite, and just the gameplay and stuff.
No, totally. Like, yeah, Skyrim's definitely like shit. When did that game come out? Like
2000. Well, November 2011. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
So,
yeah.
It's
like,
an oldie.
It's it's a bit of an oldie, but like I haven't played that thing in like I don't know, like 3 years. But there's still like a bit of my brain that keeps like snapping back to it.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, like it's one of those RPGs. It's like what's the word for using something as like an example for a cert, like to represent something. I guess I can just say it's representative of the RPG.
you could just say it's representative.
Yeah,
and
there is
an
a
example.
term, but that's okay. It's like it's representative for like the RPG industry and stuff because it revolutionized it, and many games have more recently revolutionized it. The Witcher 3 being the main one, I guess. But Skyrim did a lot of things, ticks a lot of boxes for me, basically, as a gamer.
I think the reason I still like think back to Skyrim and the reason that it continuously occupies like a small chunk in my brain that keeps saying like, just install it again.
Yeah.
You'll love it. you won't mind the bad dialogue.
Yeah.
But it's like I can't think of any other game that has so continuously like shown me parts of a world that I just like fell in love with.
Yeah, it's definitely obviously Bethesda known for their world building and world filling, I guess. Which it's so ironic because like everyone knows that like so much of that game is cut and paste. Yet it's still so interesting to explore, even though a lot of it is like the exact same. And that is why a lot of people get burnt out and stuff. But it's something about it's so captivating.
Yeah, is captivating's the right word. And like I think like if you're breaking it down on like a technical level, like all the rocks in that game are copies and pasted, just other versions of rocks. All the trees are like the same trees that you see everywhere.
It's definitely the dungeons, the tombs, they're the worst.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Those are the parts of the game that I found. Like those are the parts of the game I don't remember when I think back on it. The parts I remember are things like when you're in like the southwest corner of Skyrim.
Yeah.
And the like mythical Nordic kingdom kind of place, and there's a city called like Makaram, the dwarven city.
Oh, Markarth.
Like Markarth. Okay, maybe I don't remember
close
it as
enough.
well.
Close
Shit.
enough.
But there's like a spot like a mile out from that city when you're walking along and you're just in the south of the map, and it's all like super jagged rock. There's like coming out of these huge cliffs, and I just remember walking up along this like small trail through all of this like almost like volcanic kind of ruptured landscape, and just like the fog being everywhere and it being just like unbelievably creepy but also really serene, and just gorgeous. And like nothing happened as I walked along that, like no enemies attacked me, nobody came up with like a quest. It was just like going for a super cool walk just through this like epic landscape.
Yeah.
That to me created like a feeling that I didn't expect to get in a video game, which is like the feeling of like almost like being a tourist. And like you know what I mean? Like going for like an amazing landscape you've never been to before, and just being like, wow, it's incredible here. I really felt like I was just like on holiday somewhere.
It's like those visit insert country name here videos that you get on YouTube,
No, it totally
like the trailers.
is, yeah.
We just make a visit Skyrim and just have a shot of that area that you walked through. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, it'd be amazing. Yeah.
Come
visit
Skyrim
Skyrim.
for me.
You'll enjoy our wonderful landscapes, our Nordic culture, the dragons,
And that endless amount of bandits and
the endless
ruins
bandits
filled with undead.
Come explore our local culture, where everybody only knows 5 sentences,
And we all have the same
and
voice.
we all have the same voice.
Yeah. Man, it's weird though. Like, I don't know how that game pulls it off. I swear, like, any other game had those amount of voices, it would just be terrible. It's probably because the NPCs, like, most of them are just so, like you said, you made a joke about the dialogue earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue really is, like, very basic. Like, obviously, like, there are some exceptions, like the Dark Brotherhood questline or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, most of the dialogue is incredibly basic. And I think that's, like, it is a shame, but, like, that's not the best parts of Skyrim for me. The perfect game does not exist, contrary to belief.
Fallout 2.
Which is upsetting.
2. It's Fallout 2.
Yeah, I mean, I want to use that as a comparison actually, because obviously both by Bethesda. Fallout 2 also has like a really awesome.
Get fucked.
Oh yeah, they're not.
Nah.
Bethesda produces it. Well, they bought it over.
Sorry,
or whatever.
I got really defensive about that.
Yeah, you did. You got a bit too
Nobody
defensive.
gets information
what are they
wrong
called?
in Fallout 2.
Is it Obsidian?
Like Obsidian, yeah. Black Isle,
Yeah,
like all those
okay.
guys.
Okay. Okay, so Obsidian made it, but like obviously Bethesda took a lot of inspiration from that sort of thing for their future games, in terms of like the world building and stuff. And then Fallout 2 also had like really good mechanics and like dialogue and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just not. It's just old. And obviously like the way you played it and the graphics and the way it was isometric.
Yeah.
You just don't get the same. Like walking through that bit that you were talking about a second ago in Skyrim, it was a lot more realistic because obviously it was a newer game and it was all 3D, and you were actually like you had a sense of the scale of everything. I think that's the biggest part. To bring in Elder Scrolls Online, the biggest thing that like feels so different to me from Skyrim isn't actually like it's not so much like a gameplay feature. It's the scale of the buildings and stuff and the cities. In Elder Scrolls Online, everything's a lot more spaced out.
Okay.
Because like in Skyrim, there's some really like cramped areas on purpose, like the Dark Quarter, for example, in Windhelm, where all the Dark Elves live.
Right. Yeah.
It's very cramped and like tight alleyways.
It's kind of like
and
it's like a ghettoized kind of area.
Yeah, and all the buildings are sort of like towering over you. In Elder Scrolls Online, everything's really spaced out, and you do get like huge buildings and stuff, but they just don't have the same sense of scale, I guess. It feels a lot more, or just a lot less realistic, in my opinion. And that's something that is a big hindrance, and like something I loved about Skyrim. Just like the scale of everything, and how like everything seemed so believable, I guess. Because even though it was like there was magic in Skyrim, because of the way it's implemented in the world, it just seems so normal. Like magic's
totally.
like such a foreign thing to us, but like if you play Skyrim, like you just sort of roll with it. I don't know, you never like question the magic. You never like, I mean, you might be like, whoa, that spell was really cool, but you're never like, that shouldn't be a thing that people can do.
Oh my god, what's going on here? Yeah, you kind of buy into these like otherworldly aspects of it.
Yeah.
Just to derange this from the Skyrim and Bethesda stuff. Just like a couple of things that reminded me of. Just in terms of like the whole magic stuff and how it's treated. I think that's one of the reasons why I really adore The Witcher.
Because it's so hated. I think it's hated, right? I'm pretty sure it is.
In ways.
Well, the Witchers are.
Definitely. So like, magic is like mistrusted because it's still like this fucking crazy thing that people don't can't wrap their heads around. But it isn't on like the level of like the aristocracy, like kings and queens and courtiers and all these people fucking love sorcerers. And
because they can do shit for them.
Because they can get stuff done. So it's like, I don't have to worry about this because I can just get this mage to do it for me. Awesome.
Yeah.
Also,
that's actually something I don't like about Dragon Age. Just to quickly intercut, because like they're so against magic to the point where I'm like, I don't know. It's so generic to me for like a game world to be so against magic. And like the magic people make all the bad things happen. That's such like a generic story and kind of a cop out to me at this point.
Yeah,
like,
it's like the equivalent of like technology gone wrong.
Yeah. So when that happens, I'm kind of like, oh, it's kind of lame.
I think like
I don't know, just
with the Dragon Age, there's like a very clear difference between how like magic is used in The Witcher and how it's used in Dragon Age. Like in Dragon Age, the reason people absolutely hate magic is because it's responsible for basically like infecting the world with like horrible diseases and demons and all sorts of stuff that are coming to destroy it
and everything.
Whereas in The Witcher, it's just like a tool that can be used for good or bad. But the thing I'll say is like I loved playing through Dragon Age, specifically Dragon Age Origins, as a mage. I decided to play through that game as like a female elf mage, and it's like, okay, here are 3 groups of society that in this fictional world are like marginalized or not believed to be worthy.
Yeah.
So like that entire game had like, for my character, that particular playthrough had this amazing arc of being like the person that everybody hated and doubted. It's like there wasn't a single group in that game that I met who was just like, oh yeah, you're a cool dude. It was just like people spitting at you saying like you're not worthy of shit. And it really is like right up until like the very end of the story when you manage to like prove everybody wrong, and like that all that changed, and like it felt like such this like amazing triumphant moment.
Yeah. for sure.
Whereas like,
and then it all changes by the next game, and
and
female
everyone forgets
elven
about that.
mages are hated again.
Everyone forgets about this. It's like, hey, you remember the hero who was like a female elf mage who like saved the world? No, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Reset.
Doesn't matter.
You're a different character, right? Yeah. Saves don't carry on in the trilogy. Well, then fuck you. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think this is?
That's
Mass
how it goes
Effect?
Speaking of Mass Effect, I tried Andromeda the other day for the first time, and I was like, I heard they patched a lot of it and stuff, and I was like, I know a couple of people who really enjoy that game, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, and I genuinely got like, I want to say 3 or 4 lines into the first like bit of dialogue in the game,
Okay.
and it was just ridiculous. Like I saw how bad the animations were, obviously, in like videos and stuff. But actually experiencing it in the game when you're trying to listen to the story rather than just like watching someone show how bad it is, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like, for a game that, like, I don't know, it made the characters seem even more flat than like they usually are. And well, okay, that's a bit of a heavy hit. Okay, so they're not flat, but like
they're not flat, but I think
the animations have always been pretty flat because they're randomized conversations.
Yeah, for me, it's not the animation of the characters that threw me off. It's always been the art style that Andromeda went for. So like with like older Mass Effect games, because they're running on older technology, the original Mass Effect trilogy, which is like easily my favorite trilogy in games just ever. I fucking love that trilogy.
Yeah.
I could accept the lower graphics and like the slightly janky animations, and almost in the same way that you do with like cartoons or like basic cartoons, you can project your own emotion onto it.
Yeah, I get that.
And especially if like the original trilogy, you have amazing writing, which
the writing was definitely what did it for me in the original. Original
like
trilogy.
Like, man, yeah, just like some of the characters in that are like unbelievable. Like, just some of my favorite characters ever. Like, I fucking adore Fane, who's like this assassin.
Yeah, is he the
alien assassin?
The reptilian one?
Yeah, he's like this kind of
really
reptilian alien assassin who's
Yeah.
like dying of what's basically like cancer.
Yeah,
And has become like super zen and like reflective on life.
yeah. No, he's super
And
cool.
he's super cool. And it's like, I'm never going to forget you, like ever.
Yeah,
And I'm never going to forget Morden. Or like my version of Shepard. Like I'm never going to forget those characters. Because I could put so much emotion on them and gain so much knowledge from them and like appreciation of the world that game was building. Whereas like with Andromeda, because everything's like a bit more like colorful and cartoonish, I can't accept them as being real characters. They remind me of like characters from like a bad version of like Serenity or something.
Okay.
They feel way too much like they're characters from a TV show rather than real life characters, which is what the original trilogy
They feel
felt like.
acted, sort of. What you mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like they feel acted, and they feel like somebody. They feel like they're being written, which is like a weird thing to say. But like I never, like there's so few moments I could look at in the original Mass Effect trilogy and say, "Oh, that feels like a line of dialogue that somebody thought would be really funny." Whereas like with Andromeda, I look at all these things and think, "Oh, that's just a line of dialogue somebody thought millennials would really like."
Is that what you really feel from it? I mean, I've not got that far in, so
Like just the,
I can
the
imagine
picture in
now,
my
yeah.
head when I played maybe like an hour of it and just said, "This isn't Mass Effect," and turned it off.
yeah,
And it just continuously to me felt like what I wasn't seeing on the screen wasn't like these people having this adventure in space. What I was seeing was like a boardroom of like middle-aged men saying, "What do the young kids like?" and then
yeah. I
trying
guess.
to write like I can guarantee that at some point somebody during a mocapping section, a session from Mass Effect was like, "What does it look like if we get this lizard to dab?" And
I mean,
like,
I definitely
are there
think
fidget spinners? In
I definitely
space?
think BioWare. It was still BioWare doing it. It was like the developers from BioWare making this game. There's even been statements recently that EA although they do have oversight, they don't actually force BioWare to do it. And that's even like an ex-developer who was talking against EA that said that. So it's definitely not, well, I don't want to say anything definitive, but I'm pretty sure it's not middle-aged men in their suits that don't know how to make the right games writing it. I think BioWare maybe just think that, I don't know, maybe BioWare thought that that's what people want in that sort of RPG now. And maybe they wanted to try and go to that audience, which is weird because obviously Mass Effect have such a big audience already. Maybe they were trying to like reboot this series with younger people in mind, like you said.
I definitely understand why they went for like a different tone.
Yeah, I mean, I think the what they were thinking probably was that, I mean, how many they'd planned like a whole, another trilogy, right? At least.
Yeah.
So they're thinking,
that's not
it's not happening. I know that, but like when they were making this, they were probably like, well, we want to appeal to the people that are getting into games now, so that when they release the future games, because if they targeted like people that are not growing out of games, because you don't technically grow out of games, but you know what I mean, like people get older, they have less time for games, they have less money to, like, less time for RPGs basically, so they would lose audience if they targeted older people. I think they were probably targeting younger people so that when their trilogy released, they would like grow up with the trilogy, if that makes sense. Sort of like people grew up with the original trilogy.
Like that's kind of what happened with the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And like I guess like other games like Assassin's Creed and all that kind of stuff. It just felt like it felt like a game that was trying way too hard to be earnest and like fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I've not played it, but I can imagine. Yeah, it wasn't like Mass Effect is a serious series. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has its jokes and stuff, but it is like, I mean, the original trilogy was like you're saving the world from like this horrible set of like enemies that like demolish villages and like kill innocents and stuff like that. And then even the humans themselves are questionable with their morals and the council and all that stuff. And then obviously you've got like Omega with all like the scummy people, and I don't know, like it's always been quite a grim series. And definitely
like the universe that game inhabits is one that is like it's simultaneously like a Star Trek type universe where like everything's amazing and progressive, but also just like unbelievably dirty and grimy and like fucking horrible at points. Like the main plot for me like that's another thing as well. It's just like RPGs and science fiction have the ability to tell unbelievably amazing storylines. And just as I said before with how I wouldn't forget characters from Mass Effect, like I'm never gonna forget the Krogan Genophage storyline. That storyline is one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced. Not just in a video game, but just a storyline where an entire species and an entire alien species that is warlike is used in a war to defeat like a greater evil. And once the greater evil is defeated, the supposed good guys in this universe realize that they've created a monster, so they infect them with a disease. That means that it's something like 99 out of 100 childbirths will end in a miscarriage. And like, that's a fucking horrible thing
it's pretty bad.
Infect like anybody with, never mind like an entire sentient species. And then throughout the whole Mass Effect trilogy, that Krogan race are just like resigned to their doom. Because they know that they're just going to die out. And so they just like double down on like their vicious violence, and we're just like, man, fuck all of you.
Pretty much.
Like, you're the worst people. Like, how could you do this to us? And like I found exploring like their society and like meeting characters who are trying to just like deal with the fact that like their entire species are just gonna die because they can't reproduce to be like fucking horrific. But then like also like incredibly epic on this grand sci-fi scale. And like that's something that I love in an RPG, and I think particularly that Krogan storyline represents something that I always want from an RPG.
Yeah.
Which is telling like a grand story that deals with issues within like a society or a culture. Like I'm not interested in that that like Bethesda storyline, that Skyrim storyline where you're the special hero who's here to save the world from this event-ending thing.
I think that's something that plagues a lot of fantasy things in general, not just games, just the fantasy genre in general. And I know a lot of people that aren't fans of the fantasy genre, and I totally get it, because I want to say it's the least human-like, or at least realistic sort of genre in terms of like, I mean, you can get sci-fis that are really weird, but there will always be like human presence, I guess. Mm-hmm. Obviously in fantasy it's like usually humans, but it's like so of a different time, and everyone acts in such a different way, and like obviously there's magic at play and stuff, whereas like science is real. Obviously we're not at the technological level of Mass Effect and stuff, but it's not like, it is believable that we could get there, whereas magic is like such a, I don't know, like it doesn't exist at all, or at least not that we know of, in our current world. We've never experienced it, whereas we've experienced science and computers and stuff like that. So I feel like that's the difference.
Yeah, it asks a lot more for you to buy into it.
Yeah.
But like that comes back to world building. Like if you're good at world building, then like I'm down to clown. Whatever, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's all good. Yeah. It's all good.
The other thing I was going to say about Mass Effect is like the actual choices you get to make. That's what really did it for me. Like obviously, like not even just the ones that like have Renegade or whatever. I can't remember what I think that's what the system's called.
Yeah, Renegade and Paragon.
Paragon. Yeah, it's not even just those choices. Just like every choice of dialogue. Those are the games I felt like there's always been a response that I would give, if that makes sense. When I play, like totally. Half the shit you say in Bethesda games, like you would never actually say. It's just that's the response your character gives. It's the same with Dragon Age Origins. I felt like there were so many things that like, because there was like 6 options or something ridiculous every time you had conversation. There was always an option that I agreed with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
like there was always an option that either fitted who you are as a person or how you were wanting to play the game.
Yeah.
Like there was an option that fitted your fictional character and an option that fitted you.
Yeah.
Whereas once you kind of reduce that down, like you do in, say, Fallout 4, which is unfortunately the Fallout game which made me kind of upset the most because it changed the series that I grew up with and loved the most. Changing the amount of options you had to reply to people from like 6 or 8 options or whatever it was down to like 2, and half the time they weren't representative of what you actually wanted to say in that situation.
Yeah.
That kind of takes the pretty core thing out of role-playing, which is like the fucking role-playing aspect of it.
Yeah,
where, like,
definitely.
You have options open to you. Like when you reduce it down to just like two responses in a dialogue tree, it feels restrictive.
It's almost
in a way
like
that doesn't work.
It's almost like quest text at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's the sort of shit I'd skip through in an MMO, like WoW, for example. I mean, obviously some people read the quest text or whatever, but not many, and most people just click like the skip button to hand in the quest. I feel like that's what Fallout 4 had got to at that point. Like you'd return to someone and you'd like hand in the quest, and like, but there was because there is only like those options, and like most of the time you don't even, that isn't what you'd say. You're just there to hand in the quest and sort of get on with the rest of the game. I feel like it was a hand in and skip and then continue sort of game.
Yeah, like characters just became a means for you to get experience points, which is like completely dehumanizing and massively reduces the amount of impact that any of those characters have in the world. Whereas like on the exact polar opposite end of this scale, in terms of modern RPGs, you've got the Witcher trilogy, in which like across all 3 of those games, like every single character you meet feels really distinct from each other. They all have like the exact same care with their dialogue. like you will meet like main story characters who are like vital to that entire trilogy's progression. Somebody like, say, Triss, who's this sorceress who's also kind of your on-off, the on-off love affair of Geralt, who's the main character. And like they have this very complicated relationship. They all have like these different motives. They come from different backgrounds, and you really get the sense that like, you know, this is a couple who have had a rocky relationship and argue a lot, and both want different things, and both have different views of society. And you can tell that like a lot of time and care has gone into writing those characters and those situations. And then on the flip side of that, you get like a dude in like a warehouse who's like selling, I don't know, like fish. And you go up and like talk to him, and you come away with like the exact same feeling of, man, they really spent a lot of time figuring out exactly who this person was. And like he might only be in the game for like a minute, because you go up to him and you say, oh, hey, how are you? What are you doing? Oh, you're selling fish. Cool, I'm off. But just through this like dumb little conversation, you get everything about him. And he fits in with his environment, and he like tells you something about the place you're in. Even if
he's more than just
series,
like I'm in this world to make it seem more full. He's like
definitely.
I'm part of the moving, the cog, if you will.
Totally.
Cog.
Like in The Witcher 2.
Yeah.
Assassin of Kings, I think.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
There's which I fucking love that game. I absolutely love that game.
I wanted to talk about that actually, just before you go on.
Yeah, go for it.
The Witcher 2. I've played The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3, and I had this weird thing of not getting into The Witcher 2 for quite a while, and I've not played a lot of it, mind you. I ended up playing it again for like the third time trying to play it, sort of thing, because obviously it's praised as such a good game. And I finally got like hooked in. I think I was just like really paying attention to the story. I didn't focus too much on like the combat and stuff, because that kind of put me off before, at least in The Witcher 2. The tutorial was horrendous in my opinion.
Yeah, the tutorial's really bad.
It, like almost like genuinely that like put me off the game the first time I played it. I was like, this tutorial's so bad, to the point where I was like, that was back when I played it on like Xbox as well, so that probably didn't help.
Yeah, if memory serves me right, they actually patched in the tutorial because they didn't really have one before.
Yeah, probably they probably did.
So like it was very rushed.
Yeah,
if memory serves me right.
But I did finally get, you know, pulled into the story and stuff, and I was getting really into it. And then I got The Witcher 3 on a sale, and I made a dumb mistake of just ditching The Witcher 2 and like going straight to The Witcher 3. And I didn't enjoy The Witcher 3 nearly as much. I didn't get pulled in, and then by that point I was like, I don't want to go back to The Witcher 2 now. And I really wish I'd just stuck it out, because like I was really enjoying it. And then by the end of The Witcher 2, I would have been so excited to play 3, to the point where I would have been able to get through a lot more of it to decide whether I liked it or not, sort of thing.
I still think The Witcher 3 completely holds up by itself.
Yeah, I'm sure. It wasn't that.
But there's definitely like a lot of stuff in The Witcher 2 that leads into The Witcher 3. Yeah. Like I'm coming to those games as somebody who like bought The Witcher 1 when it first came out.
Yeah.
Because I found the idea of playing in a world like that so exciting.
Yeah. It wasn't that they weren't linked.
The Witcher 2 is a difficult game. They are linked.
Yeah, but you can.
Story-wise.
I know what you're saying. Like you can play The Witcher 3 without playing The Witcher 2 and still enjoy it and stuff. But like that wasn't my issue. My issue was that I went from being really engrossed in the story of Witcher 2 to then sort of just jumping into a different part of it randomly, and then like even the starter town when you're with, is it Vesemir, I think is his name?
Yeah,
I really didn't enjoy any of that town whatsoever. I don't know why. Like I thought some of the cutscenes were like really cool and done really well, but it all felt way too side questy at that point for me.
So that part of The Witcher 3 is definitely like the tutorial area.
Yeah.
And like a lot of The Witcher so something about like The Witcher games is a lot of those worlds, a lot of the world in those games, a lot of like the towns you visit, a lot of the places you pass through like aren't meant to be fun places
Yeah.
to like explore or look around. Like they're very deliberately like fucking awful.
Yeah.
and like not a nice place to be. Like the nicest places in the Witcher games are like just like random hills or like bits
The
in a
nature.
forest.
Yeah.
For like places away from where the awful people are.
Yeah.
Or they're like in a bar
Well, I
during
really
like
liked,
a dialogue scene with your pals.
Yeah, I really liked the bar that you first visit in that small village, and I really liked fighting the griffin in the field. It was just everything in between those parts that I just didn't enjoy. I mean, like, the whole Witcher sense following footprints, I hate stuff like that. I hate, like, slowly following a path and, like, adjusting your camera a little bit and just sort of walking in that direction. And
I
get why
fucking dig that
I
stuff.
see it, but it's just too slow for me. I'm like, why can't I just, like, look at that? Or, I think when you go in Witcher sense, you, like, walk a bit slower, right? Or you can't go at full speed.
That's true.
I hate stuff like that. I don't know why. I just want to run along. Like,
I get you on that front. Like, it feels like it's deliberately. There are definitely times where I'm like, okay, this is slowing me down on purpose.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Witcher games is they're paced, not just in terms of their story, but in their gameplay is like really methodically. Like, the main character is like a monster hunter, and you piece together, almost like a detective, what has happened to this place. And sometimes when it's like, as you're saying, like tracking footprints or something like that, it can feel a bit slow and plodding because you're just like following a path through this forest. But when it gets to stuff like there is a beast that is like killing people at this estate, or
I love
in this tower, and you've got to like go through and like talk to character A, talk to suspect B, get hints about like the larger picture here.
Yeah, no, I loved that, but it was just it was the bits like following the footprints that just didn't add anything for me. Especially like when I had a really fun mission where like I had to go get the goat. I think I talked to you about it. You have to go get the Peller.
Yeah,
I think his name is.
Yeah, you've got to go and get a goat for the Peller, which is like this sage of this village.
Yeah, and I really loved it when I actually found the goat. But, like, following its footprints and then, like, leading it back. I mean, every RPG and most games have really dumb quests like this, and I really wish they wouldn't. Like, when... It was all fun when, like, I found the Peller, the goat and stuff, and, like, a bear tried to attack us, and I thought that was pretty cool. But as soon as, like, I'm at the bit in between where, like, I'm having to follow its prints and then, like, whistle for it, and then, like, slowly lead it back...
That mission is fucking bad. Well, no, like that mission is
like it's weird because I actually had a lot of fun, like when I actually found the goat, and I thought it was funny, and I really liked the dialogue, but like the actual tracking it down and stuff, I love looking for clues and talking to suspects and like going through dialogue to do that stuff. But I just don't want to follow like a crumb trail, like in Fable or whatever. Like especially if I'm slowed down whilst doing it, that just really puts me off.
I get what you mean. So like that, especially like when that kind of
no, you go on.
Yes. So I've won the talking war.
Yes.
So it's like that aspect of The Witcher is like one of the worst showcases of like an open world where it's just like go here, do this.
Yeah.
There's a quest from The Witcher 3 which like I always remember, like it's stuck with me ever since I first played that game. Like minor spoilers coming up, but it's like quite early on in the games. Like don't worry, it's not like major story related stuff or whatever.
Okay.
There is a sorceress you meet in like this marsh area, and she wants you to go to this island. That's in the middle of this lake, and it's got a huge tower on it, like an old just like there's an old castle on this island.
Okay.
And during like your early plays going through this area, you keep seeing this tower and you keep seeing this island. Like it's somewhere that keeps popping up like in the distance or like out the corner of your eye as you're traveling around this area.
Yeah. So
it's always kind of been in your mind up until this point. just because like you as a curious person who wants to know this world sees it and thinks, oh, I bet something happens there.
Yeah,
and
that's a very
you're told
very
to go to this
Skyrim
island.
thing for me, at least.
It's a very Skyrim thing.
And in Skyrim, I just fucking run over there. Like that's how I roll. Like if
yeah,
I
you're
saw
just like,
something
I'm just
like
gonna
that.
run there then.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, go on.
So you can totally do that in this game,
Yeah.
but all you find there is like a bunch of enemies, and you can kind of go in to the castle beforehand and realize something's wrong. But this sorceress gives you this like lantern, and this lantern casts like a strange light over things that shows you the spirits of dead things.
Yeah.
So you go to this island, and you can like walk around the outskirts of it, casting this light. You're just like holding up a lantern, like a torch, and then these kind of black, foggy, kind of flashing things appear from you, and they're the shape of humans, and you catch snippets of conversations, and they're like peasants who are landing on a boat. They're trying to load something onto it. They're scared. They're like panicking and angry. And as you like get closer to the castle, you start to realize like something has gone like really fucking wrong here. And you like enter the building, and like everything's knocked over. It's all destroyed. Clearly like some like these people have come through here and just smashed the place up.
Yeah.
And as you start to explore this place, you find things like a room that's just full of cages with rats in them.
Okay.
And like a bunch of the cages have been knocked over. There are peasants, ghosts of peasants kind of saying, this is disgusting, like let them out. You start to find like corpses.
Yeah.
And eventually you get to the attic. So you go into the attic, and you find a laboratory, and you realize that the mage has been conducting experiments on these rats to like test diseases on them the way that like a modern doctor would.
Yeah. Ahead of his time.
Ahead of his time. But before you appears the like decomposing spirit corpse, like this mangled mess of the noble's daughter. And she explains to you that the peasants
and then you stab
from
her because she's disgusting.
And then you stab her because she's disgusting. No, we'll come to that later.
Okay.
But she explains to you that the peasants across the river were starving because there's a famine in the area, because this is a time of war, and like the soldiers keep coming and taking all the crops. So the peasants decide to raid the lord's manor because they know he has food. So the peasants revolt, come over, smash down the place, kill the lord, kill the lady, and the mage says to the noble's daughter, take this vial, it's poison, drink it. Because like they're going to do terrible things to you. And so she drinks it just as the peasants are about to attack her, and she collapses on the floor. She then wakes up like hours later and realizes that she didn't drink poison, she didn't die, she drank something that like knocked her out and made her seem dead. But she's still like in this drugged state and like can't move properly, like just can't function. Mm-hmm. And then the rats come upstairs.
Oh no.
And the rats like eat inside her, and she says the last thing she can remember before she died is like feeling a rat crawling inside her.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it's like, that's horrible.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's how I want to go.
That's how I want to go.
Yeah.
And like the quest is then she wants to have this curse lifted. So you then have to go and like get a peasant from the village who she loved.
Okay.
To come, and she can either like straight up just like fucking murder him and then escape, at which point you learn that she's like spread diseases across all the lands infecting them.
Yeah.
Or she transforms back into her like noble's daughter self.
Okay.
Kisses the peasant, and then like they both just kind of die and vanish into the ether. And it's like this super fucking grim story, and like it requires no combat at all.
Yeah.
And it's just you walking around.
The thing I want to know
piecing together these things
about this quest is, what do you actually get out of it, and why does the sorceress get you to do it? Well, like, how are you linked to this, and what do you get out of it? The main thing is, what do you get out of it? So in Skyrim, I'm going to use as an example, you can go into these random caves and do things that, like, I mean, the whole point of playing the hero is, like, you will, or like a thief, you'll always do things for your own benefit, whether it be for justice or for, like, wealth or whatever. Literally anything you do in Skyrim, you get, like, shitloads of loot. That's kind of like the whole point. Or you at least get paid for what you do. What do you get out of doing this quest in The Witcher?
So, the sources that you get this quest from, she's somebody who, like, Geralt thinks can help her find Ciri, which is the whole point of the whole story of The Witcher 3 is trying to find Ciri.
This was something that put me off The Witcher, actually. It's all like, oh, I'll give you this information if you do this task for me. Like, so much of it felt like that to me, to the point where I was like, I'm just like a lackey at this point. I don't know. I felt like, because I had such a set goal.
That's what Geralt is. Like, Geralt, he has been hired to do this.
Yeah, but
like, that's the thing I love about The Witcher is, like, you're not the hero. But you're like a guy on a job.
Yeah, no, I just want like instant gratification from a quest. Like, if it's just to progress in the story, I'm not usually a huge fan.
So the thing with The Witcher, I would say, is a lot of the time the side quests aren't there to net you, like, experience or gold or loot or whatever.
Yeah.
The gold in the game comes from when Geralt does his job, which is a monster hunter. Like, that's when he gets his money. And, like, I do like that, because then you just become like a guy for hire.
Yeah.
But the thing that those side quests do is, and, like, I've never played an RPG which does it as well as The Witcher, is every single side quest feeds into the main storyline.
Yeah.
In some way. And, like, even, like, the most fucking minor shit can, like, tie into it in, like, major ways later on.
I mean, that is cool.
But so, like, the sources that you do this mission for, like, this is, like, maybe, like, 6 hours into the game or something. Like, it's not that far into it. Like, by the time, like, the 90th hour of the game rolls around, but, like, by the time it's moving into its third act, you as Geralt are in this situation where you're like, oh, I need allies. So you go back to, like, all the people who you've had these side quests with, and you're like, hey man, you know I did this thing for you? I fucking need some help now.
Yeah.
And, like, all of those little minute side quests that, like, didn't net you anything, didn't get you rewards, suddenly it all becomes, like, a story about, like, the friendships and enemies you've made along the way, and, like, how they then respond to you in a time of need. So, like, everything that didn't seem worth it or didn't seem like it was going anywhere initially comes back in a big fucking way.
See, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that, unfortunately. I feel like side quests are there for me to take a break from the main quest, or, like, it's not even just that. Like, I feel like I either want one or the other. Like, in Skyrim, you know, like, none of these people actually matter to you necessarily, but they give you stuff for doing stuff for them. In terms of, like, you get instant loot or instant money, and then you can use that money within the world to progress and stuff as your character. Whereas in Mass Effect, like, you do create these connections with people, and you do a lot of quests just for the sake of, like, relationships and stuff. But then you actually get those people with you, like, you know, like, in your crew, and you can actually take them places, and then obviously there's the big mission at the end where they all come into play. I either want one or the other. I don't like the idea of all the side quests being linked to something and then not getting anything for doing certain quests apart from that person's happy now. I don't know, like.
So like I think that's the thing that throws quite a few people off of, like, RPGs like The Witcher. Which is that they're not focused on, like, the game aspects of it, I guess.
They're not necessarily just character progression, it's like world progression, which is cool, but I like a balance. I don't want it, you know.
So like, you can definitely see The Witcher's origins as being like a novel.
Yeah.
In those aspects of the game. And, like, other RPGs like it. Things like some of, like, the early Neverwinter Nights stuff and things like that, where it's like the engagement you get as a player from completing these quests and going on these missions isn't to further the game. It isn't to further your progression or develop your, like, character's skill set or whatever. It's to experience these people's lives.
Yeah.
And, like, that as somebody who like fucking loves really deep, rich storytelling and quite like mundane storytelling, I find that really fascinating. Like I love seeing how this like thief in this city, how he's going to react to how things change. I love seeing that. I love seeing how like the sorceress is going to react to it all. I prefer my characters to have that, and I prefer to get nothing from it in a gameplay sense.
Okay, that's interesting.
Like,
see, I never thought. I guess a good way to look at it is like
hang on. I know how to explain this. I've seen The Wire.
Yeah.
You haven't.
Yeah.
Right. I can guarantee that everybody who is a fan of The Wire will love the way The Witcher and other RPGs like The Witcher deal with characters and side stories. Okay. And everybody who hasn't seen The Wire will prefer like Skyrim and Bethesda's way. I guarantee it. 100%.
I don't know. I think it's like you either choose to. It's either you're playing, like you're putting yourself in the shoes of the character, or you're choosing how the story. It's either choosing how the story happens or actually making the story happen. I guess that's kind of how I see it. Like in the Witcher, it's definitely a role playing game because you're still role playing as Geralt, and you still have control over the story. But rather than it being like, I don't know, rather than you being in the story, it's more like you're just choosing how it folds out, rather than you actually.
I don't know if I would even put it that way. You are always like the outsider in the Witcher games. You quite often play the role of like an observer.
But you are like interjecting though, because if you don't help these people, then nothing would happen. So you are still in the story, definitely.
Oh yeah.
It's just
but like in the grand scheme of things, you're kind of just there, which I quite like. Like you're very much not the hero. Like there's a line of dialogue where a character turns around to him at one point and says like, "Hey, you're not a hero. This isn't your story." And it's like a very much like, "No, you're just some dude who happens to be here." Whereas like in Mass Effect, it's very much like, we're not going to do anything until Shepard says we do something.
Yeah. I guess I just like it, like, that's what I like about games. I like the interaction. And it's like you said, it's The Witcher is more like a novel, to the point where, like, you're almost experiencing the story. Whereas with, Mass Effect, I mean, you are living the story almost. Maybe not living, because that's quite a strong word, but you are, like...
Come for the new Mass Effect VR experience.
Rather than, like... It's hard to get a word, because experiencing is not very good either. But like, I feel like you are
essential to the story.
Whereas in The Witcher, like, I guess you're
really not.
You're rolling along with it, and you're learning more than doing. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is okay, but I like a good mix. I don't want just that. I want to be part of it, and then I also want to learn at the same time. That's why I really like the way they do the books in Skyrim, and also Divinity Original Sin 2, a game me and you have been playing recently. Great RPG. I love the way they do their books as well. They're nice and short as well. Like in Skyrim, there's a lot of books I just couldn't be bothered reading. But in Divinity, because they're like really nice length, I just like slap that bad boy open and have a wee read, and it's just so interesting to me. That's how I like learning. Like through bits of dialogue and like hints through dialogue, and then just by reading books or whatever on the side.
Oh yeah, totally.
But then I actually impact the world. I don't know. That's the sort of thing I'm rolling for.
That I can't believe I haven't like mentioned this until now. Just with like learning about the world. The Witcher kind of has some of this, but like Dark Souls.
Yeah, Dark Souls
still
has is a key one, isn't it?
My favorite way of learning about any RPG world, which is just fuck you, you're in it. Figure out what's going on. We're not going to tell you.
Such a different world as well. Like, there's nothing else really like it in terms of like mainstream stuff.
No, just like guess what? The world is on like this apocalyptic brink. Society has collapsed. You're just some guy in it. Hope you like survive.
Yeah,
it's
still like, not like
everything
anything else.
hates you. Everything's trying to kill you. You don't matter. Like there's
Even
a
the
reason
chests,
that
man. Even the chests.
yeah, even the chests are gonna try and
Yeah.
kill you. Like Dark Souls is like the singular. Like I've read so many things on this and like academics talking
Yeah.
about this, but like the way that Dark Souls is curated
Mm-hmm.
is like the perfect artistic representation of like depression,
Oh, nice.
with just like the entire world just like doesn't matter, doesn't care about you, it's all going to end anyway.
Yeah.
And then like the whole thing with Dark Souls is like, are you going to light the fire and continue the world, or are you just going to let it
Let
die?
it die, yeah.
it's like
I'll let it die
it's like the perfect
after I see 50 you died screens.
after I see 50 you died screens.
Yeah, it's like,
But
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
like-
letting it die.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve to
like
live.
it doesn't deserve this. It's really horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that game is like the perfect like piece of world building to like represent a singular vision.
Yeah.
And like, yeah,
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, RPGs.
man, I want there to be a new Dark Souls.
I want there to be just lots of new RPGs.
Actually, that is. I
yeah.
think this is a final question for us.
Yeah.
Does God exist? No. Are there any RPGs you were looking forward to?
Yeah, just all new Bethesda stuff. I'm just praying to God
All new Bethesda stuff.
if he exists, which is debatable for everyone.
we're not answering
Yeah,
that
we're not.
question
We're not.
this week. Next Mini-Munch, maybe?
Yeah, next Mini-Munch maybe. I'm just praying that they, don't use the Creative Kit engine and have something new. Because man, if they pump out another Creative Kit engine game, then it's gonna go down bad, like real bad.
Are we still talking about God or Bethesda?
Bethesda, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, God didn't create the universe using the creation kit.
Yeah, no, he didn't. We would live in a janky animated world if he did.
Janky animated world. Yeah, we'd all be sinking through the floor and flying 100 feet in the air. And
Man, this world's so
walking through walls.
2011. Holy shit. Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't believe he hasn't fixed the bugs yet.
This dungeon looks like the one I was just in 5 minutes ago. Yeah, basically.
I mean, every flat in the UK does just kind of look a bit like an IKEA store.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Maybe capitalism is just the asset copying
Yeah.
of Bethesda games.
Yeah, I think so. I think a good way to think of RPGs is like because they're so expansive and there's so much creative like freedom with them. They're like one of the most varied, like sort of like in terms of good and bad, I want to say.
Yeah, definitely.
Like because like we said or I said earlier, no game's perfect. Even though like I was saying a lot of the things
Fallout 2.
a lot of the things I don't like about The Witcher, that doesn't mean by any means that I think it's a bad game. I think it's a great game, and many other people do. It's just like a whole thing with RPGs, like preference. Like some people prefer to be in the story, like me, and then some people prefer to just sort of experience it or like learn about a world. They don't necessarily need to be a huge major part of it. They just want to see how it develops and like see what happens when certain things happen and stuff, which is fair enough. And that's the beauty of RPGs and role-playing games. I mean, it's the whole point. You play a role how you want to play it, and I think that's amazing. And that's why RPGs are like one of my favorite game types, because
they're like, it's the genre that no matter who you are feels like it was made for you.
Yeah,
Which is like an unbelievably difficult thing to pull off, which is why I don't think we see as many of them anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a true shame.
It is, but I think like we still get a nice amount, especially compared to some other genres. We still get at least
kart racers.
Yeah, we still get like
Space Sims.
at least one or two, probably about one a year, like a big one. Like we usually get like at least one big RPG per year, and that's usually enough because pretty much every RPG I play, I can get a decent amount of time out of it at least, which is great. And I really hope they make more. And Cyberpunk 2077 on the horizon.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to my 2077.
Yeah. And I mean, they've just a bunch of stuff coming out. Bethesda have got Starfield, I think it's going to be, if that actually happens. I think it is.
That'd be tasty.
I think it's pretty...
I learned the other day that Prey is getting DLC.
Is it?
And that is making me so fucking happy.
That is pretty good, yeah.
That is making me so happy.
You are very happy about that. I need to play that still.
I love Prey. Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. Like, that's like one more thing.
Yeah.
Like, even though we might not get that many great big RPGs, I think it's a massive testament to the entire genre.
Yeah.
That like every other genre in video games has taken something from RPGs and has applied it to them.
Yeah, almost like even if you look at like FIFA, for example, they added in like the story mode or whatever.
And
their
there's like
newer
choices
games.
you can make there, and like dialogue
Yeah.
options, and then like character creations, and then just like leveling up skill points.
Yeah, even
and, like, having
even in like
open worlds where you go and discover things.
I think FIFA is a great example because it's so like the polar opposite of an RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess not anymore because of the story mode and stuff. But like even before, like you could create your own player, and I mean that is like an RPG element. Like you're creating a character, and I love how like stuff like that, like you said, just does reflect on other games. Even like creating a character in general. It's literally in like
creation.
so many games, like even like racing games or like the wrestling games.
Wrestling.
You know what the character creation's like in wrestling games? It's crazy. It's insane.
You can build whatever you want.
Oh God, Ralph, please stop.
All the hats.
Everyone's gonna be having nightmares after that.
I love creating characters.
Anyway, role-playing games, everyone. Man, we rambled about Skyrim and The Witcher for a long time, but that's okay because they're like, I want to say, the two most revolutionary RPGs.
Yeah, like they're like the
At
big,
the-
like
of this time.
like the Witcher and Skyrim are the equivalent of saying, "Have you heard of films? Watch Citizen Kane." Like, yeah, it's the equivalent of like, "Have you ever read a book? Here's the Adventures of Tintin." Like,
Yeah.
they're the big things that you
Or just
have
Lord of the
to
Rings.
get involved with.
Yeah.
Nah, fuck that.
Fuck that. Okay, fine. Harry Potter then. There you go. The Harry Potter books are revolutionary, whether you like them or not. It's just
You really like using the word revolutionary.
I do. It's a good word, and a lot of things deserve that term, including Skyrim and The Witcher. Whether you like them or not, they
revolutionary.
revolutionized the role-playing game genre, and I think Divinity Original Sin 2 did as well in a way because it's so different. Because it went for the
Divinity Original Sin 2 has like shown everybody what RPGs are still capable
yeah,
of.
and like you can go for isometric, and people will still buy your game.
People fucking dig that
Yeah,
shit.
and turn-based
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
like
Turn-based
The
combat.
Witcher and Skyrim have like defined what you need in an RPG or like a modern RPG.
Yeah,
Divinity is showing you like what is possible
Yeah.
when you have great systems and mechanics in an RPG.
Yeah.
And Mass Effect Andromeda has shown you what to do if you create a fiery hellhole.
yeah,
Which destroys Ralph's favorite franchise.
Yeah.
And makes him very upset.
makes him very upset. And that's role-playing games, everyone.
I'm too sad. I'm thinking about Andromeda, Joe, and I can't do the rest of the podcast.
Okay, I'll wrap it up for you, Ralph.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah,
We're going to have to end
end
it.
it. Yeah,
Now,
Ralph's gonna go
they
cry.
ended, like they ended Mass
Like they ended
Effect.
Mass Effect with Andromeda. Yeah.
Oh God.
Anyway,
Why were there no Solari?
yeah. Why did they take out the races and stuff? It's crazy. Anyway, thank you for listening, everyone. I've been Joe.
Where's my Krogan?
That's been Ralph crying about Mass Effect.
Where's...
And we've been talking about role-playing games, an amazing genre within the game industry. Join us next week
I will never forget you, Shep.
for most likely a full Munch Media. Hopefully Aaron will be back. If not, who knows, maybe we'll get someone else on for a Munch Media, just if Aaron's going to be taking a break. And
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, we're getting him on the show, finally. After popular request, we've managed
By
to...
me and you.
Yeah, by all two of us, we've managed to bag an interview with the man himself. Anyway, thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.